having a direct personal experience and relationship with God. And then do you think that you would attain this result with a partial or altered teaching? Or would you attain a better result by following the original complete teaching? Well, regardless of whatever the aim is, certainly we'll attain better results if we have the complete original teaching. That's common sense. So, it follows from that we should do research into this subject if we're at all interested in getting the best benefit out of our yoga practice or out of our meditation. We should go deeply into the matter, and we should find these original literatures and check them out. Now, as far as the aim of yoga, as we mentioned before, yoga, the word yoga comes from yukta. The same word is used for example, hitching a horse to a cart. So hitching up the soul to God is like hitching the cart to the horse. God is really the force behind everything. He says in Bhagavad Gita, I am time. Without time, nothing can happen. So God is the force that makes everything happen at the very lowest level of understanding. And at the highest level of understanding, God is the supreme, eternal friend and lover of the soul. And we all want that love. We all need that love, that pure, unlimited, unconditional affinity of God, who created us just the way we are, loves us just the way we are. So, yoga is a path to self-fulfillment, spiritual self-fulfillment, and by following the original teachings, we can reach that rather quickly, within a few years of practice. But if we don't follow the original teaching, if we follow some partial or altered teaching, we can never be sure that we're going to reach the actual goal of yoga. For example, if the teaching doesn't even recognize that that goal exists, we're in trouble. So let's move on, because the next question is, can you be absolutely sure that the teachings you've received and practiced are the complete, identical yoga teachings from the source literature? Well, most people would have to answer this, no. You can't be absolutely sure because you personally have not investigated the original source literature on yoga. And so you might start to wonder, well, why not? Why aren't these books available everywhere? You can go into any Borders bookstore and there's a whole shelf of books on yoga, but are any of them translations of the original complete source material on yoga? No. Why not? Well, this brings us to the next question. Did you know that for over 200 years, colonial governments used disinformation and psychological warfare techniques to deliberately distort public knowledge of meditation and yoga? It's because of this disinformation that almost everyone in the West has an incomplete and inaccurate picture of yoga. The British, when they occupied India, they deliberately covered over the original source materials on yoga, and they funded the creation of a large number of secondary and tertiary sources of information that gave a distorted and incomplete picture. Now, why did they do that? Well, they were occupying a very large country with a very small number of troops, and they needed leverage. And some of the best leverage you can have is to discourage the people and disempower the people that you're trying to rule. So the colonial British government mounted a large, very sophisticated campaign called Hinduism. That's right, folks. The British created Hinduism. And if you doubt me, Google British created Hinduism and take a look at the about 10,000 references that you'll turn up. So British deliberately created a distorted picture of yoga because they did not want the people of India to be fully empowered by their spiritual practices. And therefore they deliberately distorted and covered up the original source of information on yoga for political reasons. Political and financial, which always seem to go together, don't they? So what are those original sources? Well, have you ever heard of the Vedas? Actually, if you've been studying yoga for any length of time, it would be highly doubtful that you had not heard of the Vedas. But if you're a beginner, maybe this is a new idea to you. The Vedas are a very ancient source of knowledge on yoga, meditation, and spiritual life. They're very ancient. They were written down for the first time 5,000 years ago. 5,000 years ago is about the limit of Western historical knowledge, but the Vedas antedate that by a considerable amount. And the Vedas are, or the Vedas and its ancillary literatures are, the most original source for yoga and meditation teachings in the world. It gets better. The Vedas used information techniques similar to modern computer security techniques such as encoding and checksums and other coding methods, which I'd rather not talk about, to prevent alteration of the original texts and maintain the fidelity of the original teachings. And these are the methods that have kept the esoteric teachings secure during all these years. So if you would like to get more benefit out of your yoga practice, if you'd like to attain a higher level of the yoga teaching, then you should certainly explore the literature of the Vedas. And we are going to explore, in this series, we're going to explore one of the most famous and beloved of all the Vedic works, Bhagavad Gita. We're going to go deeply into Bhagavad Gita, which is the introduction to the ancient esoteric teachings on yoga. When I say the esoteric teaching, I have a particular work in mind which gives the core ontological teaching of yoga. But I would rather not get into that directly. I would rather have us discuss and hear about Bhagavad Gita, because Bhagavad Gita gives us the background necessary to understand the esoteric teaching. If you just dove into it without any preparation, you'd be lost. The average Western person simply doesn't have the spiritual background knowledge. For example, in school, we all learn about the solar system and the different planets and basic rudiments of physics and electronics and chemistry and things like that. And so when we encounter such terms in a general reading, we have a fair idea of what they represent. But we have no background in the science of the soul. Therefore, we will be going into the Vedic science of spirituality here during the next several sessions, well, during the next many sessions, because it's a big thing. And you're always welcome to leave your comments in the comment field and let me know by email. Some of the feeds give an email address, and I need your feedback to keep us on course here. So stay tuned, and we'll go deeper into the esoteric teaching to find your perfect body.
Namo
We hope you've enjoyed this edition of My Perfect Body. This is David Hughes, your host, reminding you to visit us on the web at esotericteaching.org.